Devin Haney calls out Shakur Stevenson. Me and Shakur is the next biggest fight. An electrifying moment just dropped in boxing. A moment that instantly transforms the landscape of the sport and forces every fan, pundit, and casual observer to reconsider the future of the divisions. Devin Haney, fresh off capturing another world title and proving himself one of the most technically fluent champions in the game today, didn't just tip his hat toward Shakur Stevenson, he publicly declared one of the most significant potential fights the sport could offer. Me and Shakur is the next biggest fight. Those aren't vague words or social media whisperings. Those are the kind of declarations that reshape narratives and force matchmakers to take notice. To understand why this call-out matters so intensely, it's essential to recognize where each of these fighters stands right now. Devin Haney, undefeated multi-division champion and currently holding the WBO welterweight world title after an impressive win against Brian Norman Jr., has steadily built a resume that demands respect. He's someone critics have said lacked fire in the past, a stylistic boxer instead of a crowd pleaser, but every time he steps in the ring, he backs that perception up with results. On the other side is Shakur Stevenson, a fighter whose rise has been a story of discipline, skill, and territorial expansion in a sport where talent alone doesn't always guarantee opportunity. Stevenson just wrapped up one of the most dominant performances of his career, dismantling Teofimo Lopez at Madison Square Garden to claim the WBO junior welterweight world title and join an elite club of 4 division world champions at just 28 years old. Now picture these two unbeaten talents, each with an unblemished record, each coming off massive wins, each hungry for the next defining challenge, standing across from one another in a ring. That's precisely what Haney put out into the world with his call-out. The next biggest fight in boxing isn't a theoretical matchup. It's essentially a challenge extending from one champion to another. And because both fighters have global followings, technical excellence, and something to prove, that fight stops being a dream and edges closer to reality every day. The context behind this call-out is just as important as the words themselves. Earlier this week, Stevenson responded directly to Haney's public mention on social media with a short but unmistakable warning. Be careful what you ask for, things might just happen. That reply wasn't a refusal. It wasn't fear. It wasn't hesitation. It was a calculated acknowledgement that this fight could actually be made, and that both camps are now aware that matchups like this can no longer be ignored. Stevenson's reaction matters because of timing. His dominant win over Lopez left him without an immediate next opponent, and talk about Conor Benn as a potential future rival has been swirling, but actual negotiations haven't gone anywhere concrete. Declarations like these from Haney give Stevenson's next path focus, not just another name, but a defining opponent who would carry major implications not only for both fighters' legacies, but for boxing's star hierarchy. There's something powerful about seeing Haney explicitly link his name with Stevenson's and frame it as the next biggest fight. In his message, he even referenced tackling both Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis, placing Stevenson in that hierarchy as someone he wants to face head-on in the prime of both men's careers. That kind of confidence doesn't happen by accident. It happens because Haney believes in his own skill, in his trajectory, and in the excitement such a matchup could generate among global fans. If you break this down beyond the hype, this potential matchup is compelling for several reasons. First, you have two unbeaten fighters who have earned their positions. Their records aren't padded with soft opponents, and their victories come with performance arguments powerful enough to shift pound-for-pound discussions. Haney's rise to world champion at multiple weights, including welterweight, put him in a rarefied tier. Stevenson's ascent to a 4-division champion at such a young age solidifies his credibility across weight classes. Their paths may differ, but the destination aligns. Unmistakable greatness. Second, stylistically, this fight would raise questions fans and analysts have debated for years. Who wins when technical brilliance meets tactical adaptation? Haney is known for his jab, his distance control, and his ability to neutralize opponents through timing and rhythm. Stevenson thrives on precision, sharp counters, and a boxing intelligence that consistently outmaneuvers elite competition. This isn't just a fight of power versus speed, it's chess at 88 pounds per minute, a blueprint of skill meeting skill. Every punch, pivot, and reader of distance would play a role, and that level of intrigue is exactly why fans are already buzzing about it. Third, the moment in boxing right now is ripe for matchups that transcend simple weight class rivalry. The sport needs showdowns that unify fan bases, that generate stories beyond titles and belts, that create narratives that matter. Huge fights aren't always about who gets the belt, but who gets the answer. And in this case, it's about determining supremacy between two fighters who represent the next generation of elite boxing. It's also interesting to watch how this story has evolved just in the last few days. Stevenson's social reply, a short, cryptic, yet charged message, laid groundwork that media outlets picked up instantly and boxing communities exploded with reaction. That response told the world that this fight isn't a joke or just chatter, it's potentially something both fighters are thinking about seriously. So even before contracts, promoters, or negotiation tables, we have a public acknowledgement that neither man is dismissing the matchup. That alone changes the dynamic. And then there's the practical backdrop. Stevenson just conquered Lopez in a performance that not only earned him another title, but put him in the conversation of boxing's current elite. Haney, just a couple months earlier, capped off a huge comeback of his own by winning the welterweight title in Riyadh and resetting the narrative around his career after some earlier controversy over recent results. Both men are riding momentum, and momentum in boxing is the currency that fuels megafights. Fans pay attention when the timing is right, not when the paperwork is convenient. This call-out, me and Shakur is the next biggest fight, carries implications far beyond a single press release. It sets a narrative tone. It gives promoters leverage and fans something real to anticipate. It frames the next chapter for both fighters, because even if they don't sign tomorrow, the public desire for that fight now exists in a way that cannot be dismissed. Instead of being rumors or wish lists, these are loud, public statements from the fighters themselves. That's rare in modern boxing, and it's exactly why fans are already wondering if this could be the next era-defining bout. Whether this fight actually happens this year or next is still up in the air. Negotiations in boxing are complicated, involving belts, networks, promoters, and purse splits, but what cannot be denied is this. Devin Haney put Shakur Stevenson at the forefront of his future plans, and Stevenson didn't push back. Instead, he opened the door just enough to signal interest without committing prematurely. That's how major fights start, not with screams or ego, but with strategic acknowledgement that something big might be worth pursuing. So if you're watching this unfold, you're watching one of the most intriguing developments in boxing today. A call-out from a reigning elite champion, a tacit acknowledgement from one of the sport's most dominant technicians, and a narrative that could shape championships, legacy, and public perception for years to come. If you're hyped for that potential showdown, hit like on the video, subscribe so you don't miss updates as this story evolves, and drop a comment with your own prediction. Who wins if Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson finally step into the ring together?